You just threw up 4. Okay, right there. Yeah, Soul Searchers. I'm sure he made like 35 cents off of that. But
yeah, I brought up his page, so you wanted to talk about his works. I mean, granted, I'm not going to open up and show all 137 episodes, but just talking about what he wrote.
Just what you're showing. Incredible Hulk, best run ever. X Factor, best run ever. Supergirl, not even close, best run ever.
I'll scroll down for you, sir. There you go.
Yeah, now Soul Searchers, if you get a chance to read that, Dalton, that would be up your alley. It was a company called Claypool Comics. They did Soul Searchers, Deadbeats, and they had the rights to Elvira for a time.
What's Soul Searchers? Explain the premise.
It's supernatural. There's witches and shit like that. I mean, it's been a long time since I read it, but Peter David wrote every issue, and the company was owned by a guy that I knew of since I was a kid because he was a prolific letter writer to Marvel.
Did they ever do a trade or an omnibus for it?
Maybe back in the day they'd all be very out of print, but
yeah, but there's actually an omnibus for Soul Searchers and Company.
It's a black and white book. By the way, all their work was black and white. Yeah, I know. Aquaman, arguably the best Aquaman writer. Captain Marvel. I remember when remember the contest he had with Bill Jamas.
Yeah,
it was kind of
Oh, as in the Marvel contest.
Yeah,
Marvel.
More comics.
Oh God. Oh, Marvel.
Well, of course, there's Spider-Man 2099 remains like one of the best titles from Marvel 2099 imprint, and this was like before where it was stated that Miguel's costume is black and red and not blue and red, which became that way years later.
Yeah, the Captain Marvel, both series, there's a 35 and then a second volume of 25 issues. Highly recommend.
Me too.
Young Justice was just
as in Marvel's Captain Marvel or DC's Captain Marvel.
No, the Captain Marvel you see there was Janice Marvell.
Yeah, Janice Marvell's son.
At the end of the first volume, his wife left him to go be with Moondragon. And then the second series ended with them getting back together and Moondragon meeting Marvel's sister, who was Phyla.
I wanted to point out, because everybody gives credit to Jeff Johns. You got to read New 52, Aquaman. He's finally cool.
No. Arthur,
cool.
No, Arthur was made cool thanks to Peter David's run.
Peter David did a couple of Aquaman things, especially the run that we see here with the 47 books. He's the one that made Aquaman.
Yeah, he helped revitalize Arthur.
Yeah, not only that. Hold on. Not only that, but he also did like the Atlantis Chronicles. He made. He did a big old lore. He absolutely.
Yeah, he helped enhance as well as expanded Arthur's corner of the DC universe.
Yeah. So give credit where credit is due. Jeff Johns. I'm not gonna say his run was bad. No, it was good. But Peter David did it first. I would also, by the way, like to point out this X Factor. A lot of credit is given to the original run, especially the one issue where we find out it's Doc Samson, but he's giving he's basically a superhero therapist, and you see all of the cast of X Factor talking to him, and we get that excellent reasoning as to why Quicksilver's been a dick all these years. And he says, "Imagine you're standing by behind a cashier." Somebody in the cashier line at the grocery store, and they're taking forever. Now think about being that way all of the time. And it's like, okay, yeah, we get it.
Yeah, fair enough.
the Peter David had a hold on X Factor. He knew these characters. I think that's one of the greatest things. Now, Alan Moore, you brought him up. He's very good about deconstruction. Peter David never deconstructed the characters. He built them up. He showed you what the characters should be. Like if say you're Madrox, okay? And this happens in the run of X Factor we're looking at right here. Say you're Madrox the Multiple Man, and you break off and you go into a whole bunch of other people, and they're sent across the city. What happens if one doesn't come back? You know, what happens if you don't call your bodies back for a long time? They actually dealt with that, where they had to go around collecting Madrox bodies that never returned.
Yeah, good at playing with the in-universe logic, which, my God, I would give my left bollock just to see in-universe logic make a comeback. Well,
what you found out was these Madrox bodies went on to live. They were living their own lives. One was a priest, one was a librarian, and when he finally called them back in, he gained all the knowledge that they had gained by going out into the world. These were ideas that did not break down the character in order to build them up. These were just ideas that built up the characters.
Yet John Madrox, like the priest dude you mentioned, like he didn't go back into Jamie.
He didn't. I forgot that.
Yeah, because when he did so, like the absorption process didn't occur because like they were separated for such a long time, and like he became his own person.
He became his own person.
Okay. All right.
I will say that the romance like between like Jamie and Teresa Siren, and like the birth of their son Sean, like named after her dad Banshee. Yeah, that was tragic, to say the least.
I'm gonna Eric Breen this book right here. And
hey, Fallen Angel, nice.
Yeah, I cannot recommend this enough. This is such a good book. I am very lucky. These Dark Horse omnibuses, these little ones, they are going for some bank nowadays. So I'm very happy to have grabbed these. I think these are the only ones that aren't actually, but yeah.
It is still a crying shame that DC didn't allow Mr. David to do his Supergirls series that he wanted to do, which spins off of his run of Supergirl, which feature like Power Girl, Danvers, and the original like resurrected Kara.
Yeah, it's so intriguing. There are so many different characters. It goes dark a little bit, of course, as it was pointed out to me. Peter David didn't write all of them, just 33 issues, but still, it was pretty damn good. What did he write on? Spectacular Spider-Man. Hells yeah, that was the death of Jean DeWolf. That was that story.
Really good issues.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This was awesome. The Sin Eater storyline. And there is a But I Digress where he's talking about how people were talking. They were mad at him because he killed the Jean DeWolf. He goes, she was in like 3 issues and only for about 4 or 5 panels each. And yet some people were talking about
that was a bit of an understatement, but
yeah, it was.
She was actually used fairly a decent amount.
Yeah, but he was talking about that. Basically, she was not a major character, and yet people.
But she was well liked.
Yeah, people loved her, and they were mad when she died. Yeah, you cannot oversell his run on X Factor. And I remember.
I mean, we all know that with the original with X Factor, it was started by Louise Simonson, but then when David took over, like he helped elevated it.
Going ahead, you were about to say something there,
Eric. That sucked. Now I said the first run of X Factor was very good, but when he came back to it in 2004 with the Madrox series, and then 2005,
Transcendent.
Oh yeah, it's because I'm guessing by that time they let him have the characters that no other writer wanted to use. Yeah, because it was such a disparate group of characters. That's it. But nobody's better at making lemonade out of lemons than Peter David.
I'm looking at this row right here. First of all, I did like Dan Slott's run on She-Hulk. This run was even better.
Oh yeah,
the 17 issues here was done a lot better. Justice was a lot of fun as well. Once again, here's Fallen Angel, excellent stuff. Yeah,
doesn't seem like he spent a lot of time in my corner of things, which if he's as good as you guys are saying, that makes me kind of sad now.
Is do you mean the Mystic stuff? Because
he was a great superhero writer.
Yeah,
I mean, like Spy Boy was a blast.
I know, right? Which is what that he can do. He can do like other genres of fiction. He's not limited to just capes.
Well, also, by the way,
but there are also capes who are mystical. Is the thing that's what I'm lamenting. Like there are there are mystical superheroes who he could have done, and it seems like these characters missed out on a great writer.
I mean, technically, when he did his run on Supergirl, which not. Matrix, as well as with her like merging with Danvers, like it did have some supernatural aspects because she actually becomes an Earth Angel.
But it's not.
By the way, nobody has commented since Undead Quinn. So if you guys are wanting to join in, just by all means. I noticed that nobody's.
But it's not as though they ever handed him a Doctor Strange or a Ghost Rider or anyone like that.
I will say this though: if you are a Star Trek fan and you want to read, this is the best Star Trek since Star Trek. There is a storyline where Captain Kirk is on trial by the Federation, for influencing and all that kind of stuff. And while he's on trial, there was an episode of the original run called "A Piece of the Action." It was a gangster planet, and they did what they had to do. They did a show of force and everything to get the gangs to stop fighting. And he's on trial for, I believe it was for interfering, like the Federation's not supposed to interfere in societies. Well,
violating the Prime Directive.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So what ends up happening is the two heads of the rival gangs come into the trial. And as they're testifying, they say, "Oh, yeah, and here are a couple of checks for your piece of the action." Because when they went and stopped the fighting, they saw Captain Kirk is now the leader of both gangs. I thought that was funny, and it was definitely not good for for his case of interfering and such. So, yeah. Well, Undead Quinn, I hope we're helping out, talking excitedly about some of his stories and such. Some of the things that are definitely worth checking out.
The best way to describe Peter David is he was the best at doing unconventional takes on the books that he had. That he basically took over. Like I said, the Spectacular Spider-Man issues, pretty straightforward, just very well written.
Yep.
But if you take like Supergirl, or especially the Hulk, I mean, with the Pantheon, and I mean, not everybody loves Future Imperfect. I don't. I'm just not that big a fan of it. I love the earlier stuff.
I was just about to bring that up. Artful, like I said last time, that was awesome. I did not know he did the Phantom.
Yeah,
that might. Be
I mean, to be fair, not a lot of people knew that, and if they actually get a chance to do so, they realize it is one of the best runs of the Phantom of all time, because you can tell he understood the character.
And he is the guy behind the Dark Tower. Okay, I didn't know that either. Also.
Oh, he did the Dark Tower adaptation that was actually better than the books it was based on.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yep.
But I dig on the Maestro. I dig the Infinity. If it's not your bag, it's not your bag. But that was.
Well, cool. He also contributed in 1602, with the Fantastic Four.
And Joe Fixit, which was released a couple of years back, was a lot of fun.
He also did the adaptation of the Drawing of 3, which is book 2 of the Dark Tower.
And Disney's Little Mermaid, I read that to the girls when they were young. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, there you go. Look, Peter David was a great writer. He was what you wanted him to be. His politics weren't intrusive. We'll go over the book. Like I said, maybe Friday we'll go over the book. Incredible Hulk number 382, I believe it was.
Is that the death penalty?
Yeah. Join us if you'd like.
We knew what his stand on the death penalty was, but you didn't if the book was your first experience with his views on it.
Yeah, and he actually
That's all you can ask.
He did an episode. He did an article in the But I Digress where he talked about it. He said people were mad because I killed this character, and he said, "Good, that was my point. You know that the death penalty is wrong." And he went on, and the thing is it made a case either way.
Well, and it sounds like he was very good at operating within in-universe logic, which is a lost art apparently now. Modern day writers will abjectly shun the in-universe logic because the fans need to be taught not to care about the toys so much and shit.
No,
and
modern day writers do something that the Golden Age did, but the Golden Age was creating things. This is the beginning. But modern day writers will go, okay, we need Spider-Man to get out of this, but none of his powers will get him out. What if we give him a venom blast out of his hands, like a stinger?
Okay, but how and why and
but the thing is, they don't care how and why. They'll just say that's a new power he has.
Yeah, again, it's the abject disdain for in-universe logic and in-universe world building and shit.
Writers, older writers, Peter David, the John Burns, the Alan Moores, the Frank Millers would go, okay, well, I got him in this situation. How can I get out using those particular powers with the limitations?
Or if I want to give him something new, or if I want to create something new, I actually have to do the work to get it there.
The one thing that I would love to see it make a comeback is people getting tired after using their power. It's
as long as it doesn't overdo it, because I will agree with writer of X-Men who changed Wanda's powers up. For some reason his name is escaping me. But I will agree that characters shouldn't have one use of their powers per fight scene or something ridiculous like that.
It's just I don't know. Anyway, guys,
as long as it's not overbearingly so, I agree.
I have definitely got to clip this part because we did a 30-minute talk about Dylan Dog and then an hour and 10 minutes
Peter David.
I want to get this separated, so I will clip this and make it its own video. But thank you
in memory of Peter.
Wait, hold on. Why did Peter David and John Byrne hate each other?
I wasn't aware of that, but if it's true, my guess would be because John Byrne hated everybody.
Yeah, John Byrne.
Yes. Misanthrope.
Yeah, curmudgeon. He was curmudgeon as a young man.
I know, right?
Some people, in order for there to be so many old misers, there have to be young misers at some point.
Okay. Yeah.
Just remember though, if Peter David was the best, I think John Byrne might have been the best writer of the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the his contribution to X-Men, Fantastic Four, Superman. But Peter David, I would say, probably the best writer in comics through the 90s and well into probably about 20 years. He was as good as anybody.
Well, there you go. And that's a good place to end on. So once again, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. And thank you to everybody for putting in their 2 cents. Let's see what's going on. Next week is Camelot 3000 on Monday at 9:30, but don't forget we will be joining up to do some Peter David stuff and specifically, I do want to go through that Incredible Hulk 382, mainly because of the politics and the lack of politics in a book about such a subject. Let's see. Tomorrow, I do believe we are cover ranking X-Men at 10:30. So join us for that because it's Dave Cockrum, John Byrne. So that's a lot of great stuff. A lot of really good stuff. And then Iron Man will be the following. A lot of fun. So please join us for that as well. If you want to, by the way, tell us what video you would like to see, what story you would like us to talk about, going over to Ko-Fi, drop a $5 into the tip jar and just say, hey, I love this story. Can you give us your 2 cents? And we would love to do that for you. That being said, thank you very much for hanging out. And thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
Kids.
Yeah, fun times.